Hey everyone, this is my presentation for community investigation. This is my toxic chemical fact sheet. Name and chemical structure of the toxin. Mercury or quicksilver is also known as a neurotoxin with an atomic symbol of Hg, atomic number of 80, and atomic weight of 200.59. It appears odorless. It is a silver metallic liquid that is water insoluble. Toxic by inhalation, absorption, or ingestion of the fumes, causes corrosion to aluminum, and is used as a catalyst in boilers, instruments, and mirror coatings. The functional groups present in mercury are carbonyl, carboxyl, phenolic hydroxyl, and lactone groups. Explanation about mercury sources and how it may enter waterways. Mercury is present in three forms: organic, compounds formed with mercury combined with carbon; inorganic, compounds formed when mercury combines with elements, such as sulfur or oxygen, to form salts; and elemental, which is a simple form or metallic, Hg. All three forms are dangerous in water. And this is the chemical structure. It's a rectangular chemical structure. Other mercury air emissions are as follows: burning oil, wood, mercury-containing wastes, consumer products such as batteries, light bulbs, thermometers, etc., producing chlorine using certain technology, industrial coal-fired burners, breaking mercury-contained products, and burning iron ore, coke, and limestone in steel-producing furnaces. And this is the mercury cycle from coal power plants into the atmosphere and also from in the earth. There's already mercury in the Earth's atmosphere, soil, and rocks and crust that is able to get into the waterways by soil seepage, runoff, and rainfall. The high mercury soil has water flowing through it. Some attaches to the water and then through the reservoirs, as well as aquifers, which then gets into the public drinking water supply. In the U.S., power plants make up for 44% of all man-made mercury emissions caused by the burning coal to create electricity, which makes them the largest source of emissions. Annually, 2,000 metric tons, which is over 4 million pounds of gaseous mercury, enter the atmosphere because of coal-fired power plants, as well as mining activities. It then cycles through the air, soil, and water and takes on multiple chemical forms. When entering the sea, it turns into methylmercury, which is highly toxic to fish. Half of the mercury in the sea comes from precipitation, while the other half enters because of gaseous mercury. Because mercury is easily absorbed into the food chain, it rises a cause for concern because the methylmercury levels are 1 million times higher than the levels of water that the fish swim in. Description of how the toxin likely enters the cells. Methylmercury, which is closely similar to ethylmercury, crosses cell membranes with small molecule weight thiol compounds, entering the cell as a cysteine complex on large neutral amino acid carriers and exiting the cell as a complex with reduced glutathione and endogenous carriers. Identification of at least one specific metabolic process negatively affected by the toxin. The severity of the metabolic process due to mercury depends on the type of exposure and the method of contraction/consumption. Methylmercury is the strongest form. It can affect the immune system, coordination of senses, alter both genetic and enzyme system, and damage the nervous system. And embryos are 5 times more vulnerable than adults. If exposed to elemental mercury, such as like a broken thermometer, it can cause tremors, gingivitis, and irritability. If elemental mercury is ingested, it isn't absorbed as quickly and could potentially be passed through smoothly without any negative side effects. These are the health effects. The short-term effects are severe respiratory irritation, digestive disturbances, marked renal damage. But the long-term effects are weakness, fatigue, anorexia, weight loss, and disturbance of gastrointestinal function. The metabolic process fact sheet. Organisms and type of cell where this occurs. Mercury not only affects fish of all species, but it also affects humans through a process of bioaccumulation. In fish, the metabolism covers 2 processes: catabolism, which is the process of breaking down metabolites to produce active energy, takes place in the eukaryotes; and anabolism, the process which builds molecules the body needs for new tissue growth, maintenance, and reproduction, which takes place in the nucleus. To date, there have only been 4 studies that examine the interaction between mercury concentration and a metabolic syndrome. 3 out of those 4 indicated even a low dose exposure is associated with metabolic syndrome. 2 studies determined that fish intake with high methylmercury is a main factor in the concentration of mercury in the human body. Methylmercury breaks down in the body 6 times easier than inorganic mercury, which migrates through cells that are normally a blockade for toxin. It crosses the blood-brain and placental barriers, letting it react directly with brain and fetal cells. The overall function of the process. Metabolism is the chemical process that gives life and uses metabolites like inorganic food and inorganic matter like oxygen. Metabolites is connected to all other body processes by distributing energy. Fish use what are known as destructive metabolism and constructive metabolism to build molecules from simpler ones. Major ways this process is regulated or controlled. Fish metabolisms rely on 3 things: respiration and nutrition to metabolites, osmoregulation for a stable working environment, and excretion to get rid of all positions and waste produced by side effects. Their metabolism works at different speeds depending on their environment and is controlled by the fish's hormones. Identifying one major enzyme that is involved. One major enzyme that helps play the role of digestion or metabolism is endopeptides, trypsin and chymotrypsin, which hydrolyze proteins and polypeptides. Simply put, peptide bonds combined with protein molecules produce peptide chains. The gene that encodes for enzymes. The protein encoded by this gene is a cytosolic prolyl endopeptide that splits peptide bonds on the C-terminal side of prolyl residues within peptides that are up to 30 amino acids long. Prolyl endopeptides have been known to be included in the maturation and degradation of peptide hormones and neuropeptides. The function of the enzyme. It breaks down peptide bonds within the protein molecule. Method of controlling the enzyme. In order to control an enzyme, 3 things have to be followed by the organism. First one is controlling the amounts of enzymes made. Second one is organizing the location of the enzyme in each cell or the whole organism. And 3 is controlling the catalytic power of the enzyme molecules after they are made. What happens when the process inhibited does not function? If a metabolic process does not function properly, the organism will produce energy using glycolysis to stimulate the tissue and convert glucose and energy from glycogen without the need for oxygen.